We'll return to the chambers. I'll ask Irene Bowie if she would come and provide testimony. And after Ms. Bowie, Mayor Nakahata.
Good morning, Chair and
Good
committee
morning.
members. Irene Bowie, Maui Tomorrow Foundation. Maui Tomorrow supports the proposed ordinance as peer-reviewed science continues to uncover the links between pesticide exposure and serious human health problems. Fetuses, young children, the elderly, and those with compromised immune systems are particularly vulnerable, and it is reasonable for county government to pass efforts to protect our community from possible harm. In particular, we support neighbor notification of field spraying in buffer zones. Advance notice allows the public to take precautions to avoid exposure, such as keeping children and pets inside, closing windows, and covering vegetable gardens and grills. Notification is a common sense measure that gives the public the right to know when and what they may be exposed to, and giving community members a means to protect themselves and loved ones from possible harm. We have residents of Maui County here today whose homes near large ag fields have been regularly exposed to harmful chemicals. They've contacted State Department of Ag and had their homes tested for pesticide exposure. These same people have received confirmation from Department of Ag that pesticides, including atrazine, have been found on their properties. Contrary to a recent Maui Chamber of Commerce column, current state regulations are not protecting citizens from possible exposure to restricted use pesticides. Neighbor notification in buffer zones would not be, quote, devastating to Maui County's ag industry. In a recent Maui News Viewpoint, the Farm Bureau's executive director asked what the scientific and medical evidence indicates. He should read the recent American Academy of Pediatrics study, which supports evidence that children are especially susceptible to the toxic effects of pesticide exposure. That abstract, published in 2012, states, children encounter pesticides daily and have unique susceptibilities to their potential toxicity. Acute poisoning risks are clear. An understanding of chronic health implications from both acute and chronic exposure are emerging. Epidemiologic evidence demonstrates associations between early life exposure to pesticides and pediatric cancers, decreased cognitive function, and behavioral problems. Recognizing and reducing problematic exposures will require attention to current inadequacies in medical training, public health, tracking, and regulatory action on pesticides. Maui Tomorrow supports this proposed bill, which gives the public the right to know, a right to choice, and modest protections. Large ag in Hawaii continues to operate under century-old methods. The community now demands that sustainable and safe 21st century farm practices that protect human health and the environment be implemented, and we ask you, council members, to take common sense measures to ensure this. Mahalo.
Thank you, Ms. Bowie. Members, questions for Ms. Bowie, please. Mr. Couch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Bowie, for being here. Question for you. Do you have that in writing?
Yes, I submitted that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Bowie on her testimony, members? Having none, thank you very much for your presence this morning. Oriana, Kalama, please. And after Ms. Kalama, Lauren Rego.
Aloha County Council and Chair. My name is Oriana Kalama, and I'm the president and founder of a Maui grassroots organization, We're Ocean Defender. I thought we would be discussing the revised version of the bill, so I'm quite disappointed that we're wasting this time, in my opinion. So I would like to speak in behalf of myself, my children, and our 200,000 supporters. We are the largest Hawaii-based environmental organization on social media today. We are in favor of communication of this bill. Our oceans are sick. Everything that happens on land has an effect in the ocean, and every single problem the ocean is facing originates on land. Our oceans are very sick right now. I don't have to go on it. Radiation, ocean pollution, acidification. I mean, it goes on. Yeah? So these problems are caused by us and our lack of concern, respect, and involvement. We have become the largest polluters of this planet, and this has to change. Yeah? Shame on us. I'm here because I'm extremely concerned about the negative effects of pesticides, fertilizers, herbicides, and chemicals in our ocean waters. I am concerned about the products we know about and currently use, but most importantly, I am concerned about the ones we don't know about and were being applied without our knowledge. This information, what we're using, is vital for our health and our reefs, vital for the health of our reefs and our oceans. Have recently testified in favor of Bill 2491 because I believe that not only we have the right to know what's being used on our land and going on our oceans, but these companies have the obligation to tell us what they are using on our land. Was there ever an environmental impact study performed before all these biotech companies invaded our island 17 years ago? Thousands of people of Kauai are suffering from the effects of unwanted chemicals inflicted upon them by these companies. The reefs in Kauai are dying. Do you want that to happen here on Maui? The reefs at the north shore of Kauai are home for the fastest growing reef epidemic on this planet. Entire coral colonies are dying within a month of being infected. These are 400-year-old coral colonies, home for endemic species of tropical reef fish and the foundation for our food supply on an island. We have been working with marine biologist Terry Lilly in documenting this reef epidemic, and we have reasons to believe that there could be a direct correlation between this disease and the use of products made by the biotech companies.
2.5 minutes.
We have just spent $30,000 on laboratory tests, Test America. $30,000 to find chemicals that were present there. Let me tell you, chromium, nickel, yeah? We found dioxin and arsenic in the river. So chromium and nickel, in case you don't know, those are fertilizers. Those are found in fertilizers. So we're killing the ocean and the reefs with these fertilizers, right? So for those people who said here that we're not seeing any effects,
3 minutes.
it's wrong. All these turtles with giant tumors, why do you think is causing that? What is causing the algae overgrowing the reef and killing our reef? What do you think it's causing that? It's fertilizers and pesticides, you guys. Come on, we gotta wake up, get a mask and snorkel, and go take a look at the reef, because we're not only killing our land and our people, we're destroying our ocean. And as an islander, I am really concerned. So, mahalo.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Is there any questions for Ms. Kalama on what she shared with the committee members? Having not, Ms. Kalama, thank you very much for your thoughts this afternoon. In the chambers, Nomi Carmona, and after her, Robert T. Martin.
Aloha, Chair. Thank you for having this hearing. Maui County Council. My name is Nomi Carmona. I'm the president of Hawaii political nonprofit Babes Against Biotech. We have 13,000 members statewide. We focus on GMO and pesticide policy. And we have about 22,000 subscribers and chapters on all the islands except for Molokai and Lanai. And we support our local farmers very much so, and direct our members to purchase from non-GMO local farmers, because GMOs have actually been banned or highly regulated in 30 countries and most of the European Union due to environmental and health risks. So experimental pesticide permits, I want to clarify, have been issued for Hawaii, so they are experimenting with pesticides, and that's an option for Maui as well. It's the lack of transparency in this industry that's caused increasing concern for Hawaii residents. Right now, the biotechnology industry is dominated by chemical companies, which engineer the crops to either resist or contain the pesticides that they conveniently manufacture. There is no scientific consensus on the safety of GMO crops, and there's actually an open letter refuting the claims of the biotechnology industry by several very reputable and high-level scientists from across the world. So the precautionary principle alone, though, should be enough to mandate pesticide disclosure and open-air genetic experimentation disclosure and buffer zones for toxic synthetic chemicals, as well as implied impact research. So the disclosure of pesticides is acutely critical for our medical professionals for traceability. Kauai pediatricians had bonded together to urge the council to pass similar legislation due to the alarming rise in birth defects and the need to eliminate or identify the source of those birth defects. So I will provide for you a copy of a legal petition that we have with a number of medical professionals and nurses and doctors urging you to please pass this legislation. The American Academy of Pediatrics released an official statement in 2007 2013, stating that pesticide exposure can cause preterm birth, neurobehavioral and cognitive defects, asthma, low birth weight, and congenital abnormalities. So those recommendations are to limit exposure, and for those in the medical community to advocate for legislation like this to protect our citizens. Furthermore, the American College of Obstetrician and Gynecologists, ACOG, in October of 2013 stated that pesticide exposure could cause altered semen quality, prostate cancer, and sterility in males, and in women can cause early puberty, alterations in menstruation, fertility, menopause, and birth defects for their offspring. So I'll provide you a copy for that. The Hawaii State Teachers Association had to get a restraining order against one of the chemical companies for spraying next to the school. So it actually is a problem. And the chemical industry has very high-level executives now in the EPA, FDA, and USDA. So Justice Clarence Thomas is a former Monsanto attorney. He did not recuse himself from a GMO alfalfa deregulation case, and now the majority of our livestock has access to GMO alfalfa, or BT alfalfa in a lot of cases, which has the pesticide engineered into the actual food, and has been found by
3
Sherbert.
minutes.
May I have 1 more minute, please? Thank you. By Sherbert Gynecology Hospital in Canada to be contained in the blood of 93% of pregnant women and 80% of their umbilical blood. So this is not breakdown in the system as companies have suggested. Incidentally, all the industry research which is available in the United States is paid for by the industry, since the patent restrictions that they have require permission for those companies. So all of the foreign research and independent research from other places completely conflicts with the research they're standing on. The FDA and the USDA are approving, the USDA is approving GMO crops for human consumption with 90-day studies performed by the companies which stand to benefit from their approval. So consistent failure to regulate pesticides at the state level is evidenced in the blatant lack of knowledge by the Department of Agriculture not even knowing how many pesticides are being sprayed. And we have 7 of 72 pesticide misuse exposure cases that still have not been responded to from 2011 and 2012 for one person. That's for Kauai alone.
4 minutes.
So, statewide, thank you very much for having us, and please pass this legislation to protect your constituents. Aloha.
Thank you, Ms. Carmona. Any? Boy, you speak fast. Good experience. Is there any questions for the lady on the testimony that she shared with you this afternoon, members?
Chair,
Yeah,
is that testimony in writing?
Let me ask the lady.
I actually work full-time in the legislature on these issues, so we're slammed. But I will submit to you later today my testimony in writing on behalf of Babes Against Biotech.
Okay, we would appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I have over 700 studies I'd really like for you to read. Thank you.
We'll consider it. Any other questions, members, for Ms. Carmona? If not, Ms. Carmona, thank you for your presence.